Hello, I'm Gordon Lane, editor of CameraLabs.com, and I'd like to give you a brief video tour around the latest Olympus digital SLR, the E-400. Here it is, the E-400, and you can see straight away it's a pretty compact camera, well for a DSLR anyway. In fact, at the time we made this video, the E-400 was the world's smallest and lightest DSLR. But you only have to look at it from above to see that Olympus has departed slightly from a conventional looking DSLR. You can see down here there's really not much of a grip compared to a modern model, and in fact in terms of look and feel it's much more similar to a classic 35mm film SLR of the 80s. But that's no bad thing. I mean, back then nobody really complained about the lack of a big grip to hold on to, and the E400 is perfectly comfortable to hold and use. In fact, by avoiding a conventional grip, it also avoids the problem that many modern DSLRs have, namely not enough room for your fingertips between the lens barrel and the grip itself. Now, Olympus may have gone for a retro look for the E400, but it certainly packed it with modern technology. It features a brand new 10MP CCD sensor, which in turn makes it the highest resolution body yet to use the 4/3 lens and body standard. Like other 4/3 DSLRs, it also has a highly effective anti-dust filter that we'll talk about in the conclusion. And like most entry-level DSLRs these days, it also uses its main 2.5-inch colour screen to display all exposure information. And we've got a demonstration of that right now. Like all Olympus digital SLRs, the E400 performs its anti-dust cleaning process every time you switch the camera on. However, we're pleased to report that unlike earlier models, the E400 is dispensed with the animation as it powers up and just gets on with the job as quickly as possible. So if I flick the switch to on, you'll see the little blue light flashes and then it's ready for action. Now, like most entry-level DSLRs, the E400 uses its main screen to show exposure information. There you'll see the shutter speed, the aperture, the white balance, the ISO, colour mode and a wealth of other pieces of information. But what you'll also notice if you have a look at the back of the camera is there's no buttons obviously dedicated to changing any of these settings. But fortunately you don't need to delve into the menus. Just press the big OK button here and you'll see the ISO values highlighted yellow. Now I can use this dial in the top right corner to actually adjust this setting directly. Alternatively, I can press the OK button again and I actually get a menu dedicated to those settings. That's fine for ISO, but what about the others? Well, that's easy. You just press OK again and actually use these arrow buttons to move around the screen to the option you want. Here I am on white balance, so again I can use the dial to change the setting, or press the OK button to show a dedicated menu. It's really easy to use in practice and works very well. Now, one of the other neat things the E400 can do is actually use smaller fonts to reformat the screen and in turn show more information. If I press the info button here, there we've got actual red and green white balance adjustments, the actual pixel resolution. There's a lot of information on there. So let's have a quick look at playback. Like most cameras, you can actually zoom in on the picture, and you can also display different levels of information on it. Here we can actually look at the exposure information, a red, green and blue histogram option, brightness histogram, and even flashing highlights or shadow areas. One of the other neat things you can do is view thumbnails. Now again, that's nothing new for a digital camera, but let's have a look at the actual type of thumbnails you can view on the E400. Here we've got 4 thumbnails. How about 9? Maybe 16? Or even 25? The E400 even has a really neat looking calendar mode here which shows you which days you took pictures on. So it's a really neat implementation. The E400 may be pitched as an entry-level DSLR, and certainly it's great for beginners, but there's also plenty of creative options for enthusiasts, and as we've seen, easy access to the more sophisticated options. The 10MP sensor is capable of generating great quality pictures, and while the noise levels at high sensitivities are more obvious than rival models, at least the E400 isn't smearing out the ultimate detail. It really is in there in the images, so in that respect we prefer its approach to handling noise. Now, the anti-dust filter was always a highlight on 4/3 DSLRs, and the E400 is no exception. We removed the lens of the E400 and left the body open outside on a blustery day for 5 whole minutes and still found virtually no evidence of dust on the pictures. If you check out our review at CameraLabs.com, you can see a whole page dedicated to hunting for dust on the E400, and it really is probably one of the most effective cameras in this respect. Of course, one of the things that makes the E400 so special though is its size and style, and in fact Olympus has designed 2 brand new kit lenses to go with it that are smaller than their predecessors. if you're going for this camera, we'd certainly recommend going for the twin lens kit as it represents great value. So in all these respects, the E-400 is a highly recommended product, whether you're a beginner who's upgrading to their first DSLR but doesn't want anything too big, or perhaps an enthusiast who either likes the retro look and feel, or perhaps also wants a smaller body to get out and about in environments where they wouldn't normally use a DSLR. So in all these respects, it's a great camera. So what's the downside? Well, we're afraid it's actually only available in Europe at the moment anyway. So if you're in America or Japan or any other region, you'll probably be disappointed that you won't find this in your shops. However, in the UK, there are plenty of stores who are willing to ship abroad, and we've got details of those at our review. So if you're interested in this camera, don't worry that it's not in your local stores. So to find out how the E-400 compares against rival 10 megapixel DSLRs, and if you're outside Europe where you can buy it, please check out our full review at www.cameralabs.com.